Welcome to the Amazing Truth Podcast, a podcast where we focus on real issues and have real talk, and as always, provide a biblical perspective. We hope that you will be blessed as you listen.
Hello and welcome to the Amazing Truth Podcast. This is the Amazing Truth Minute.
This is the Amazing Truth Podcast. The Amazing Truth Podcast. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Stitcher. Like us on Facebook at the Amazing Truth Podcast. The Amazing Truth Podcast. Real issues, real talk.
For the Truth Minute for this episode, we'll focus on Hebrews chapter 3, verse 5. And it says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Knowledge of God's ongoing presence in our lives provides us with a contentment we won't experience anywhere else. Often, when we lack contentment, we look to material resources to temporarily pacify our restlessness. But the writer of Hebrews warns about this. He says, let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. For he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. See, most of us realize that a new purchase won't ultimately fulfill us, but too often we give in to the desire to temporarily fill the void we are experiencing. Rather than looking to money or material possessions to bring us fleeting satisfaction, the scriptures instruct us to find our contentment in God, knowing God has promised never to abandon us, and provides us with the stability we need to enjoy what we already possess. You see, our contentment will never be found at the mall, online, or in something we can purchase. Contentment is found only in the presence of God. That is the Truth Minute.
The Amazing Truth Podcast. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back. Welcome our listeners and this time our viewers.
Yeah. On the up and up.
I think at this point I cannot be confusing listeners and ears. So hear us, right?
Hear us and viewers,
right?
Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody. It's exciting to have you all. It's good to be here today. And hey, Kenan, I didn't miss you, but welcome back. Welcome back too. Welcome back too.
Sometimes it's good to admit.
It's good
things,
it's good to be honest. It's good to be honest.
Yeah. I missed
because I see you all the time.
So I miss talking to you in this forum.
All right. But anyways, welcome back everyone. It's exciting to be back. It's exciting to always have this moment. It's called the safe space, the safe place where we get to just talk. Just really talk and share.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes we don't even have an agenda, but it comes as we go through it because this is life. Sometimes you structure life so much. Yeah. But the reality and the matter of the truth of is that, we need these moments just to see.
Ezra, I'm a firm believer of living in the moment. But even if you live in the moment, be planful of living in that moment. Because, sometimes life is not... It's not a linear. It's not continuous. Sometimes it's not continuous. Things change. So I think adapting, being adaptive, and being dynamic is good.
If I can find intellectual, they say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right?
Yeah. But so even if you live in the moment, you still have to plan.
You still have to plan
to be in the moment.
Exactly. Right. I mean, we plan to be here today, so there was some level of plan. But anyways, deep dives, they can easily be moments about us because we don't have any other guests.
I think it should, Ezra.
It is.
Yeah.
It should be. There's a moment that we can actually, take time to be there. But anyways, welcome viewers, welcome listeners. This is a moment where we just get to sit down and do a couple of things. Number one is a deep dive. It's a moment where we think, we pause. Life is so fast, Kenan. I read an article once that said the current generation, our generation, does not think. Sometimes the books that we read or we quote are books that were written in 1980s and the person who wrote the books died and technology has evolved and things have evolved, but we're still quoting the same thing. So it's a moment where we just pause and process and think, through current affairs, things that I've gone through, stories from our previous podcasts that we learned and we had. And so we invite you to our deep dive. We just today want to really take time. To process. Take time to process. So Kenan, I have a question for you.
You always do, Ezra.
Can you give something you don't have?
Not really. You can't give. It's unrealistic. You can't give something you don't have.
And I'm not being
No,
sarcastic. I'm really
right.
serious.
No,
Can you give something you don't have?
You can't give what you don't have. You'll end up lying. You'll end up not being yourself if you can't give what you don't have.
So would I be wrong then if I said that when I look at the world, there's so much pain, there's so much hurt. Like you're looking society, you're looking at Afghanistan,
Right.
you think about the coups in Africa,
Right.
You're thinking about, 9/11, we're celebrating it just in the hills of 9/11,
Race and racial issues.
Yes, race and racial issues that are going on. Hurricanes, think about Haiti, man, what that country has gone through. So you're seeing all these things. But then when you come to the human side, would you say the world is a loving space? And even COVID, I mean, how can we dare forget
Right,
COVID?
yeah.
One thing that bothers me about COVID, Kenan, is, rather than us fight together, fight COVID, we are fighting over COVID.
Yeah.
So we are divided in factions, in groups, rather than realize that my enemy, whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated,
Right.
my enemy.
Yeah.
I shouldn't view you differently or see you differently, but realize that our common enemy is COVID itself.
Right, yeah.
And now we are seeing a lot of people just this side versus that side, whether you're politically, religious, people of the faith, religious leaders. And it's so sad that we're not fighting a common enemy. So you see people giving
right.
that.
So and it's we can safely say that the world has a lot of heart because we've seen the potential of what the world can give. There's a lot of love. There's a lot, even in those circles, in those countries, you've seen people demonstrate the utmost acts of love. So we know the world is loving.
Yes.
It's lovable. It's capable of loving. So when you see these things, that's why you say it's different. It brings a different vibe to what we see.
Okay. So for our deep dive today, we just want to figure out, we're just going to take our time today to reflect on, is it possible to give something positive out of your heart? There's so much, and when I say your heart, I mean your heart, heart and heart.
Oh my goodness.
So is it possible to give hope?
Yeah.
To give love, but then for us to be able to deliberate on that, we just need to know what is the source of all this pain.
Yeah.
Where is it coming from and stuff like that?
Right, like we said, we've seen the other side of heart. We've seen the other side, which is love. So where did it all change and what made it change?
Exactly.
Exactly.
So it's important for us to anchor ourselves on a quote that I read, and the quote said that actually there's a whole book about it. Actually, let me see. Actually, there's a book somebody has written about it. I haven't read it, but I would recommend if you find time to read it. The title of the book is "Hurt People." Like, in other words, if I can use another word, is that pained people can only give out pain.
Yeah.
So where or how then can we reconcile moving from pain to creating love in our hearts so that we can give that concept of love?
I think it's safe to go back to, I think, where our lives start. They say even when a baby is in the mother's womb, you're told speak positive things to the tummy.
Yes.
Speak positive things, do positive things, because you ask yourself why. This is just someone that's seen not born yet.
Yes.
But then, so for me, it goes back to childhood. That's where our minds are shaped.
Would you say it goes as far as the conception?
Right, when there's a heartbeat.
Okay, when there's a heartbeat.
That's a person, because that's someone being formed.
Okay.
And then the shaping of someone begins then. So then when a child is born and all through the pregnancy or whatever the life cycle, all they know is pain.
Yeah.
I mean, the propensity of that child becoming someone that hurts is so I think it goes back to the childhood experiences. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but it goes back to the early stages of life.
Okay, so earlier stages of life.
What do you think?
I mean, I'm with you. And you're the expert here. You always correct me. So I'm
Well,
gonna
thank
throw
you.
this in and say, I think that you hear when they're saying when a woman is pregnant that you should stay away from harmful substance. You should stay away from alcohol. You should stay away from whatever it is that you even foods. It doesn't have to be anything. But why is that the case? It's because it can the child is feeding off what you're giving them, right?
Not just food, but
Not
just your mind, what you're eating, what you're hearing, what you're watching. So
Would you say there's a child who's born hating?
Well,
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer.
I'm trying to think. I wouldn't say they're born hating, but they have the propensity to hate when they grow up. When they as life goes on, that they have it's easier for them to hate than to love, because that's not what they're accustomed to. So that's why you see when a child is born or grows up in a violent home, when they go to school, they know nothing else. So when they see someone showing them love, it's so foreign to them. So then when in work, you're called in a crisis, but then the parent is saying, I don't know why this child cannot listen, cannot love, but it's so hard for them to retrain their minds to show love when they've known violence. So that's it's they have the propensity, they don't hate, but they do have the propensity to hate.
Okay, let me frame it differently. Is discrimination learned or born?
Discrimination? Oh man, both.
Both?
Yeah.
I think it's a lifestyle, the environment. If you grow in a place where you've never seen, let me give you an example. I had this person in my life, so I'm not gonna, mention names. They had never seen a black person in their life until when they went to college. Like never until when they went to college. When they actually went to college, the first person they saw was not even fully, like it was a mix, right? And born in a country where there was black folks. So for them, it was like, whoa, like it was a whole new world.
Yeah.
But then you've seen the photo where you see a black child and, a white child and they're hugging and kissing. Their parents are trying to put them away. Or you see the photo in the streets when kids see each other and they run at each other and hug. But I think that when the environment that you live, if you see them, if you interact with them, if you engage with them, the child won't even realize this person doesn't look like me, or this person is, but as if there's an intentional teaching of, don't be with them because they are like this. Don't do that because they are like that. Don't do that because they're like...
But let me challenge you, Ezra. We both of us grew up in a predominantly black country. Well, predominantly. But then when someone of a different color used to come, we used to get excited.
There was an excitement.
So why is that though? Because we don't know color. We were not taught color. We all we could see was people that look like us.
Yes.
But then when someone that's a different color comes, you saw that as different.
You get excited and stuff. But again, it's taught.
But I don't think
it's not intentional teaching.
But I cannot recall. Maybe your family is different. But I cannot recall a time when my dad sat me down and said, "Oh, there's a white man, there's a black." No. But then when someone comes that doesn't look like me, But
society, it wasn't sitting down and being taught. For example, let me just give you a historical lesson here for a second.
Please.
Even in Kenya, where we come from, in Kisii, where we come from, that town, how is it called? It's called Bosongo. Like that's the English name of a white person, right? Like a whole town is named after that. You think about Nairobi, like where the posh area people stay, it's called Karen. Who was Karen Blixen? Like you think about that, right? So you start thinking it's not like your parents sat you down and taught you that, but society even named the people,
right?
After all that. So that's not the point. Viewers maybe wondering where we're going with this, but we're talking about early childhood,
right,
and the impact
and
it
those
has
are
on us as a
childhood
people,
yeah,
right?
those are childhood experiences. They don't have to be traumatic.
Yes.
But there are things that you see. They don't have to. I mean, it was different. I mean, if you live in a town that's named after someone that doesn't look like you, and then when you sit down and watch TV,
Yes,
that's all you see.
exactly.
You grew up, and someone told me this. A coworker of mine told me that, I'm from Africa and they're born here, and they told me, sometimes we act like someone, we are under someone. I don't want to be so explicit, but then I when I looked at it, I said, it's what we've seen,
Yes.
what we've grown seeing.
Like you as a
The
black
TV shows,
person, you're
right.
capable.
Yeah,
You're able to do it, but you
Right.
still act like.
you still act like you cannot do it. So, and then nobody has ever taught. I wasn't taught that in school. Maybe I was, but it wasn't unconscious. But then deep down, that's how I've grown up to be.
Exactly. So it was taught.
Right. It was taught.
It was taught.
Whether
Like,
unconscious or unconscious.
unconsciously
it
was
could be
taught.
what you see on TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's interesting how those experiences shape who we
Yeah.
become. So if what you're taught was quote unquote wrong,
Right.
and you become a parent, that's what you
pass
give.
down, yeah.
Right? If you are taught this is what love looks like and you become a parent, that's what you give, right? And so what you give is what's going to be given to the next generation. Like your kids have kids, that's what
Yeah.
they're going to give because that's all that they saw.
all that they see.
That's all that they saw, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about, where does hurt in this world come from? And I want to believe that I'm convinced that the reason we're seeing a lot of hurt is that in this world, there's so many people who are hurt, who are hurting from experiences that they went through or they learned at a very young stage and age, either consciously or subconsciously.
Yeah.
And now that is all we can give as human beings in the world. Would I be wrong if I say
You
that?
won't be wrong, but then I will ask you, have you seen the opposite?
Well, I don't know what the opposite looks like.
Well,
Like,
what's the opposite of heart?
opposite of heart is happiness, is
Right, have you
joy,
seen
is
the-
love.
have you seen
I've
happy-
seen glimpses of those, but I haven't seen a whole, life is, up and down.
Yeah.
They do these rankings where there's the happiest place to live on earth.
Yeah.
Where do they always say?
Is it Finland?
Finland
Yeah.
and Norway and
Right.
those
And
countries.
those are
Scandinavian
cold
countries.
places,
Those are
right?
cold places.
I don't know why
right?
they bought them.
But what is it? How do they measure happiness?
Right. Yeah.
Because maybe
Yeah.
socialism, where people are just taxes pays for everything, you are paid
Your
for
health,
vacation,
right.
You have
Healthcare is
healthcare
good.
is free,
Right.
your wife gets a child, you get paternal leave that's equal, vacation is paid for.
But that's how they measure.
That's
that.
how they measure.
To someone who's in a country that's not
Third world
privileged,
country,
right?
okay.
You tell them happiness is not healthcare. Happiness is food on the table.
Food on the table, right?
So no, but then it's safe to say that even though the opposite is true, the negative outweighs the positive.
Yes.
When there's happiness, people don't see happiness as fast as they see hurt. So that's why it's so dominant. When you see someone that's happy, we don't focus on that.
Yeah.
We want to.
But our hearts want what they have. You might not reason about it. I read a book once of this guy who was a lawyer, and the guy, just was sad with life, and he kept on seeing people in a corner who were like, well, calm, and religion had really hurt him. So you see this guy's reading the Bible, studying, laughing and stuff, and he's like, I don't want any of that stuff. But he wanted what they want. So he narrates how he craved for that. He wanted that, Even though we don't talk about happiness or we don't recognize it fast, we want it. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody, if I'm going to use this substance to make me happy, then I'll take it. If I'm going to quit this job to be happy, then I'll quit it. If I'm going to run away from my parents so that I can be happy, then I'll do it. Because everybody is chasing that happiness, even though it's painful and chasing that. But anyways, so where does the hurt in the world come from? I think for me, I can safely say that it is handed down generationally. And I think it's adverse childhood experiences that we go through and that we don't know better. So we carry those and we give them out. So I'm going to throw this question to you.
No, don't ask me. You're mentioning terms here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
Advanced childhood experiences.
That's what I was going to ask you. What is an advanced childhood experience? And have you or I, can we think
Ezra, now you're getting too personal now.
Adverse childhood experience. What is that? Like what is adverse childhood experience?
I want to say there are those experiences that you go through when you're a child.
Okay.
And those experiences,
they're adverse,
they're adverse, and they shape who you turn out to be. And there's most of those effects are negative effects, traumatic effects, and that's why now just shallowly going, addiction, depression. Most of those have been attributed to adverse childhood experiences. So that's in a nutshell. Yeah.
So it's
and I would ask you though, before we even define, why do you think adverse childhood experiences have caused hurt? Just
I think you give what if that's the experience you went through is being abused, and then you get someone and you fall in love, that's how you're gonna show love. Is because it's what you know.
Yes.
I think adverse childhood experiences, they're passed down because that's what you don't know. You don't know
what you don't know. Yeah,
what you don't know. You don't know. So you don't know what growing up in a family where both parents have agreed to live together versus in a home where parents agreed to separate. I cannot relate with someone who lived in that experience, and neither can they relate to my experience.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's because it's handed down. Like it's what you don't know is what you don't know.
And because also childhood are very formative stages of life, and they're very important. And I read an article today that really caught my eye. I think it was a quote on someone's started say that, be careful what you say to your child in the morning. You don't shout at them and expect them to have a good day. You don't beat them up or whatever, and then expect them to do the same where they go to school. So speak life, speak positive things, hope, things like that. So then when they go outside the door, that's what they're going to give. So, and for this one, the opposite is true.
So I like that. Let me bring it to the adult stage now.
Right.
You always hear that. I think this is PG-13.
What?
I'm thinking PG-13 now, but anyway, you always hear that, especially men, and when it comes to women, it's women are in tune with their feelings and their emotions, right?
Yeah.
If you want to have intimacy with your wife, you don't just all the day you've been calling her names, you've been just throwing curveballs at her, then in the evening are like, hey, well, let's make love. It doesn't work like that. It starts like from the morning during the day. African men struggle with that, but anyway, it's all good. But speaking those, it just suits the heart, it suits the body, it suits the mind, it preps you. Even if you punish me after soothing my mind and all that, it's like I deserve it because I was, I did what I wasn't supposed to do. But if you didn't show me love and you punish me, then it becomes crazy. So,
and again, it's like you said, it's basically, if you do that and you expect to, have an experience with your spouse or whatever that is, that's what you're going to give.
PG-13. Why are you being shy?
That is what you're going to get.
Yes.
I mean, it's basically that you give what you get.
Yeah.
So it's...
So the question that I have for our listeners and our viewers, what do you have in your heart? Like when you think about where you are right now in your relationships, in your friendships, what are you giving? Are you giving hope? Are you giving love? Or is so okay, actually let's not even ask about what you're giving. How are you feeling right now? Because how you're feeling is what you're about to do what to give to the next person you're going to meet, right? So right now, if you're feeling hurt, you're feeling somebody just played you, you're feeling like you are embarrassed, you're feeling, discouraged. When you meet the next person, you're going to discourage them with life.
Yeah, I read a story or saw a story in the news of this woman who had, a very bad experience with a partner, and the partner infected her with HIV. And then she went to the news and said she was going to give a list or bring a list of people. And she said she did that intentionally because of the hurt. So she was passing that out, and she was feeling good about it because she was giving that heart. She wanted someone else to feel what she felt. So it's that practical, Ezra. What you give is what you get
is what you give.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get to a place where we start. It starts with I. The good book says that love your neighbors, you love yourself. Like it begins with how you love yourself. Like if you don't love yourself well, you don't treat yourself well, there is no. I always say this, man. You see all these young folks who be watching a lot of Hollywood movies and stuff like that, and that's what they want to replicate in a relationship. But you've never taken yourself out for dinner, but you're gonna take someone else for dinner, and is there? And I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm just saying, like, if it's my wife's birthday, when I'm taking her out, it's not about my favorite restaurant. It should be about her. Because I've been taught like it's about me. I pick the favorite restaurant that I like on her birthday. She might not even like that because it's been about. So how are you feeling today? We want you to pause for a second. Be in tune with your emotions, because what and how you've been feeling lately is what you're going to give, or is what you've been giving. And as you receive it, that's how you're going to deliver it to your children, to your spouse, to everyone that you come across.
So basically we're saying just, introspectively look at your life. If you're feeling joyful at this point,
yes,
what is that's giving you joy? What, like, go deep and think, what is that gives? And then if you're hurting, if you're anxious, you're depressed, you're physically sick, what is that gives you that? What is that brought you to that place? If you play soccer and you hurt your knee, you soccer. So then when you're in the hospital with high cholesterol, for example, just go deep down and say, what is this that's
giving me?
We want to encourage ourselves, Ezra, to be in tune with ourselves,
with our emotions,
with our physical bodies, with everything. Just know what leads to what propels us to do what we do. If that person that picked up a gun and killed people at a Bible study, what is that?
Where did that come from?
They didn't just wake up and say, okay, I'm going to this massage parlor and kill people because we have to deeply look at ourselves.
Yep. Do an introspect of ourselves. Now, advanced childhood. When we hear this term, we always put it in social, what do you call your profession? What do you call it? Social, in professional terms. It's a big term. But this is simply put is, the experiences we have gone. We are a sum total of who we are. I read a story. The guy Hernandez.
Yeah.
You say, yeah.
Aaron Hernandez. I've heard of him.
You've heard of him.
What about
every other Hispanic is Hernandez. That's what I was going to say. Which one am I talking about? But because we plan. But also even because we watch football and stuff, it's like one of the guys that, I was reading his article the other day, because those of you who follow football, Hernandez was, one of the greatest, man. Was he a wide receiver? Like good football player?
I don't know.
You don't know what he was, but he was a football player. I was reading about his story, man. It just blew me because he said at a very young age, Hernandez was sexually abused, and he experienced physical, his mother being physically abused, so at home, there was a lot of domestic violence that was taking place. And when you start reading the life of Hernandez, like you read the timeline, actually the article was very, very profound. Actually, let me just share like some key timelines that I thought got, and you can go Google, biography.com. It's a site that gives you the biography of celebrities and people and just learn. It's not like going there, Sometimes you
find me there?
And stuff. Huh?
Did you find me?
We'll find you an amazing truth, But just looking at our time here so that we don't lose our online crowd and stuff. So as I go that, say, Aaron Hernandez grew up in a home where he was physically abused. Sexually abused, so his mother being physically abused, and then it says in the year 2007 he lost his father. I think he lost his father at 2006. 2006 he lost his father, and after his father died, immediately that year it was reported that he turned to using drugs after the death of his father. And then 2007, he actually punches an employee where somewhere was having a good time with where his teammate, Tim Tebow, was a quarterback, stepped in to help out and stuff. And then in the year 2007, he was questioned by the police. In 2009, he won the championship. But when you jump down in 2013, 2013, he actually murdered Odin Lloyd. I mean, that's the charge in which he's found guilty on. But he had also been indicted on 2 other shootings that had taken place. And then 2 years later, he actually found he had hung himself in his cell. But where did that journey begin? Like, you go back to his childhood.
Right.
Like, this guy has money, famous. What are you hearing from that story? All of us celebrated like analysts. Like, where did these all hurt and this pain and stuff like it? And I'm not saying that he was sick. That's not what I'm suggesting, because I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not an expert in this. But could it be like his childhood contributor or played a role in it?
So, just looking at it, he was born in 1989.
Yeah.
And then his dad dies 2006.
But we don't have stories of incidents.
We don't know. But then you see still there's someone who's absent.
Yeah.
We don't know this, we don't know what
the relationship.
Transpired. But then you see after that it spirals down. So you can tell that, he punches an employee at 17. Where did he grow up?
Yeah.
What company was he keeping? What did he see at home? But then we don't know that, but we can see from what transpires, right. So those are that we can safely say that those experiences shaped.
Can we say that loss of the father was a major one? Of course, all these things were there,
right.
But then after 2006, you start seeing this spiral and everything and stuff.
Yes, because that's in 2006, January 2006, and then April 2007. He that's when he punches someone, an employee at a bar.
Yeah,
and then
actually 2006, he's reported in school with drugs.
Right,
right there.
Yeah. Right. So it spirals down. These are 2 years later. I think he plays football, and then so after that, and then from 2007 to 2010, there's a break where he's playing football. He's doing
He's busy.
Something is distracting him from. And we're not experts. We're not expert about his life, but you can see something is keeping him busy. But then at the background, there's that thing that still flies with him, that those experiences. So
possible. We're not saying that's the case. We're not here judging, we're just citing what we read. But but again, to just make this example to say that, sometimes that hurt could be a major thing that happens in your life.
Right.
I know of people who have lost their loved ones and they're hurting through that. But they haven't gone for any help.
Yeah.
So after that, you can see how that actually changes your perspective of life. So hurt is real.
Yeah.
Pain is there. But how do we get to the other side, Kenan? How do we move beyond that so that we can be able to give love and hope and all these? Because hurt will always be there. Someone who's there right now, how can they get beyond that?
And like we said, Ezra, it all goes back to childhood. And I say there's an article here by Stephanie Lake. She's Canadian, from the Canadian University of Canada. She says that approximately 1 in 3 Canadians have a history of experiencing at least one form of childhood trauma. And this is from the age of 0 to 9. And then, and for many individuals who experience it, complex childhood, it exposes them to traumatic experiences. Be it neurological, be it physical, and then as in later life, that's when you see now the acts of violence, mental health, all those things. So when you ask me how do we fix this, or we have to go back to how we raise our kids, or how kids are raised, how this,
or even how we were raised,
ourselves. Yeah. Because then at this point is, if you ask me, I'm how old I am,
you're old.
It's for me to go back and do that and search. It's
can
not
dig.
Easy.
Yeah, it's not easy.
So then we need to start, not just as parents, even the society, the various organizations, church, school. We have to make sure that kids don't, even if they experience them, they find ways to cope with them.
and also can create a space where they can come and be themselves. And even us as adults, you know, just being able to do that. The world needs more love, needs more hope, needs more, you know, needs to be a better space and a better place. People are dealing with a lot with COVID right now. You know, people are dealing with whatever issues. News is sad. You just turn on news, it's just sad news after sad news. And some news is not necessarily sad, like Man U losing today, you know. But there is so much hurt and pain in the world that we don't know what someone is going through.
Right.
How can we please be that beacon of hope, beacon of light? I want to speak as we start winding down these to some people. Just say that I'll pray over all these. There's a space and a place for prayer, but there's a space and a place for actually getting help. I'm going to say this carefully. You know, as a person who spends time in the good book and like reading the Bible, I see a lot of hurt in the Bible. I see a lot of people who, you can tell me all those wars, but that was a normal, nice scene to be in. Imagine all the kids who were exposed to those. You can tell me walking in the wilderness for 40 years, that was an easy task where everybody was excited and was happy about that. You can tell me a 17-year-old fighting with a giant and killing him and taking his head and lifting the head and walking with it, that was a normal thing. Like, these are normal things that we hear and we read them. But what we fail to realize is that, you know, that's why, like, there's a lot of songs that are written that just help calm and bring you to that, you know, like the Psalms are songs, expressions of people expressing the emotions of what they are going through, and just that was a way of them coping with them. So it's imperative for us to say, we can, as you know, especially people who are of Christian faith, prayer is important, but also get help, seek help wherever you can. Number two, I will say that be in tune with the emotions. Know that I'm feeling sad, and acknowledge that you're sad, and say that I need help, and just normalize saying, "Hey, morning, how are you?" You don't have to say good all the time, because if you're not good, you're not good. Just say, "I'm not well today." That invites me to your world. Say, Kenan, why? What is going on? But if you say you're good, I'm gone because you're good.
Conversation
like it could be simple like that, saying, I'm not good today. Good morning. It's not a good morning, but I get it. Why is it not a good morning? I didn't sleep last night.
Yeah.
You know, why didn't you sleep, man? I had this thing going on in my thoughts. You've invited me to your world by being in tune with your emotions.
That's true.
And especially we as men, and especially people of color, that is an area where we're not strength. I mean, I'm not being an expert here, but those are things that I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think even we've sat here, we've told people, you know, seek help, introspectively look at yourself. But these are not easy things to do. You can't do them by yourself. You can, but there's a benefit of seeking help. You know, there's trauma, there's things that people have gone through that if they start digging through them, it's going to either cause more harm if it's not handled in a safe space. So if you're doing this, seek help. We are here. There's resources you can do that. But again, I think I want to say, when you say, you know, in the Bible, for the good book, you mentioned, you know, those wars, but that's what's happening right now. You know, there's a child in Afghanistan who knows nothing but bombs and sound of bombs. There's a child who grew up in Rwanda during the genocide that picked up a gun and killed someone. So that child automatically will
you know, those situations.
So I think it takes it. We need to shift our thinking. And there's a quote here, but I don't know if we read this previously, but it's by Dr. L. Cati. He says that human beings are ruled by ideals. So if the ideal thing I see is cutting someone's hand, that's what I will give. You know, so even the society where we live, what we give out should be ideal, you know, morally acceptable. You know, and that's a conversation for another.
Different conversation.
But then our ideals are what shape who we become in the future. So it's very important. So again, what we're saying here is it is okay to not be okay, and seek help in a safe space.
Well, the world is hurting, And the world is people. People are hurting. There's pain all over their space. There's pain all over their place. But one person who chooses to be intentional, cognizant, and be vulnerable for the sake of, trading pain for hope and love could be the catalyst to change the world to be a better place and a better space. The difference between you and death could be that simple smile that somebody gives you on the way down, or that simple compliment that someone gives to you, because it makes you feel valuable, important, and lovable. So the world is hurting. People are hurting. Here at Amazing Truth, we just want to encourage you to pause as you listen to this podcast and ask yourself, what is going on in your heart, in your mind? And if it's not healthy, how can you move to the other side? Be intentional about that.
Ezra, I want to leave, I want to, something here that's...
as we part short.
My parting shot, as you give yours. There's three things that we as human beings look for. Security, and not just safety, but also having comfort in being secure, And then there's significance. We all want to feel important, so being able to identify your own worth. You are important. You are somebody. You're valued. Value yourself first before you expect someone to see you as significant. And then we all need a sense of belonging, that connection with others, having a circle of friends, having that United supporters, something like that. So we all need that. So it is important when you look at yourself, look at those three things. Do you have, where is your security? Where is your safety? Where are you significant? And that starts by you looking at yourself. You are worthy. And then having a sense of belonging. It can be a religious group. It could be co-workers. It could be friends that you watch sports with. That sense of belonging. Yeah.
I just want to speak to someone here who has someone who's hurting for whatever reason. I want to say a couple of things. Number one, I've heard people say that their problem is alcohol. Their problem is this. Their problem is that. Sometimes that's not their problem. That is their source of wanting to get happiness. Pause and ask this question, why are they doing this?
Right.
Why? Pause and ask yourself, why did I respond to that person that way? Including myself. These are hard things, man. Especially when you're married. Anything is a potential of getting mad, right? Anything. You didn't do the dishes right, Ezra. But I was helped, But these came from a good place. So being able to, you can govern yourself. But if the greatest battle that a man can win is a battle against self. It's a battle against self. There's so many people who are good at fighting boxing, good at these. Yet they cannot defeat the battle against selfishness.
And you can't lie to yourself.
And you cannot lie to yourself. You can lie to the people around you, but you can never lie to yourself. So you might put a fake smile, but deep down you're hurting.
Yeah.
You might flash money, but deep down you're broke. It might not be fine financially, but you may be broke emotionally.
Right.
But above all, there's a higher being where there's hope. Always look for something beyond you, something greater, something purposeful.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have that you have to go to a building, a church. Just seek that thing, that being.
Yeah.
And you'll get to that place.
Yeah, I think that we'll conclude there, Ezra.
We'll just leave it there.
We'll just leave it there.
You're finishing on a low note, like you're defeated, but
no. I mean, I think that's find yourself, find something that's more higher than you, and seek help if you need help.
Exactly. That is the Amazing Truth podcast for this week. We are excited that you're able to tune in, subscribe, share as much as you can. Good things cooking.
Tell them to give us feedback on those visuals.
Are you ready for the feedback?
I'm not.
Exactly.
Remember, it's the first one.
But anyways, we got a lot of asks from people that we should do this, and we're trying to pilot something new. So show us some love by liking, subscribing, and give us feedback so that we can keep on improving and growing.
All right.
Great things coming. We'll be announcing more stuff to come in the near future. That is the Amazing Truth podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Amazing Truth Podcast. We hope you were blessed as you listened. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. God bless you, and see you on the next one.